Radiance ban.
Oh.
Dire team ban. Radiant team ban.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this, a Division 1 game from the Telkom DGL. And we'll have to see how things are going here because we have a top of the table clash between DUC and Sector 17's Zephyr squad. Both of these teams are unbeaten, so everything's down to this game today for the top spot in the group. Let's get straight into it. We've got an immediate ban for the Slark coming out, DUC, and Sector 17 has replied with the Bristleback and the Invoker. We'll have to see what they're going to be going with. Probably something quite strong. Who knows, maybe even an Ember Spirit. I know he's getting a lot of love of late in the current meta. That might be a very, very powerful hero to ban out now. But quite an interesting set of games coming up here. Like I said, both of these teams are unbeaten.
Dire's pick.
Really going to be quite a thing to watch this. And Sector 17 has actually gone with a Timbersaw pickup after DUC's actually banned out the Nexus Assassin. That's quite an odd ban. Not really top tier material in terms of bans. A very, very powerful hero nonetheless, but not quite what I would expect from a first ban, first pick sort of.
10
So
seconds to go.
Sector 17 picked up that crazy little purple thing with Timbersaw. Have to see how he does this. Unfortunately, not exactly certain which player from s17 is going to be picking him up. Currently have the drafting being done by Stebus. Legend will be drafting for D. So, into the second round of picks, DUC's actually gone with the Weaver and the Abaddon, so quite an aggressive combination there if the Abaddon is able to support the Weaver in the lane. Weaver is free to basically continue dives under the tower with the help of that aquatic shield from the Abaddon.
5 seconds.
Abaddon not the top tier support, but certainly strong enough in his own right. Quite an irritation. That aquatic shield being one of the very few skills able to take off stuns and all the rest. So
Dire's ban.
played correctly can be quite an irritation here, and Sector 17's actually gone for the Bane, so this is pretty interesting. I wonder if they're going to go combo him with perhaps the Marana, and Duck has thought the exact same thing as me and actually banned out that lovely lady on the tiger over there. Sector 17 meanwhile has banned out the Dooms. They want obviously none of that nonsense to cause havoc for the poor old Timbersaw. And we'll have to see what they're going to be going with here. Duck is probably missing a solo mid and an offlaner now, so Sector 17 should probably be looking at a ban in that direction. The Weaver is almost certainly going to be run as a carry. What I've been seeing him run as being played as late. Not the best offlaner, but he can still do the job if he's required. I just think that with this Abaddon pick it leans more towards going the carry route. And Sector 17 has actually banned out that Obsidian, Outfall Devourer, apologies, they changed his name often again. And DUC was actually going to round that off with a Lunar ban as well, so two very, very powerful and late game heroes knocked out. So it seems as though we might be going with more of a mid game sort of strat here from both of these teams. DUC's got the first pick, so we'll have to see what we're going with here. I think it'll probably be another support. Wonder what they combo with. They probably do need a bit of disable here. Maybe a Vengeful Spirit. There are a couple of others. There's a Vengeful Spirit.
5 others?
And they'll actually go with a Magnus, so that will almost certainly be their mid lane. Sector 17 meanwhile will combo that Bane with their Slardar. The Slardar will almost certainly be the farmer in this game, the position 1. I don't think he'll be running mid, not unless the solo mid from S17's got a big pair of brass ones. And if he does go mid, he'll most likely be running up against that Magnus, so it might be quite an interesting lineup. Not the most common of mid these days. Magnus has fallen off in popularity over late, so really goes. And DUC's actually gone with the Ancient Apparition, so this is another incredibly powerful hero in the current meta that ulti is pretty ridiculous right now. He combos extraordinarily well with that Weaver, so we've got quite a powerful aggressive quite a strong aggressive tri-lane coming out of here, which is what I think DUC will be running. The Abaddon, Weaver and Ancient Apparition will be causing a lot
seconds to go.
headaches for whatever Sector 17 tries to run.
5
Weaver, of
seconds.
course, that Germinate attack, doing tons of damage with the help of the Chilling Touch.
Reserve time.
We'll have quite a lot of what would you say, permission, that's the wrong word. I think license, yeah. He'll have quite a lot of license to get very, very aggressive and maybe dive the tower a couple of times. And if he does have that Abaddon backing him up, it's going to be pretty annoying to deal with for Sector 17. But Sector 17's now got their second pick, so I'm pretty certain they're going to need to go with a support here. They really need to find some way to block this Ancient Apparition Abaddon support combo. The Bane is not the best saving that sort of thing unless he can get his sleeps even and make certain. It does also appear though that they might be stacking stuns, so maybe something else to help along to help the Bane there, and they're actually going to go with a Sand King, so they are certainly stacking a couple of big ults here, or Sector 17. Sand King, very, very powerful in team fights, not so much in and of him, like, you know, not so much by himself. And he is going to have a lot of trouble with Weaver, I think. If he catches him alone, Sand King does not have much defense other than to go invisible. They're really going to have to be very, very careful here.
Reserve time.
Just a little busy there. So we're going into the last round of bans now. Okay, both teams seem to need... Alright, Sector 17... Sector 17 seems to almost certainly need a mid. I wonder if DUC is going to see this. Actually, Sector 17 has got quite a good options, and that was actually what I was going to suggest now, that the puck would be a good pick here for Sector 17. But that's now been banned out, so we shall have to see what's going on. What else is there in the pool? There's a Queen of Pain, perhaps? Not really the best given this current lineup. Probably something with a little bit more lockdown. The puck is obviously out.
5 seconds.
As is the OD. I'm just trying to think now, what else there?
Reserve time.
Sorry guys, left me at the moment. Yeah, but Sector 17s definitely need a little bit more lockdown for the middle lane. Either that or they're going to need something that farms very, very well in that middle lane. They don't have the most effective late game lineup. DUC will probably win if they take this late. But Sector 17 seems to be going with a much more
Dyer's pick.
early game draft, and that is very, very hard ban coming out of Sector 17 and Axe. DUC I think is probably looking for an offlaner, but that is almost certainly not what they would have gone for. Axe is not very often played, and banning him out like that is very, very odd. And even if they did pick up the Axe, I mean, they have more than enough to deal with him in this slot or Sand King. So this is very, very odd. Sector 17, and I wonder what DUC is actually going to go with here.
5 seconds.
They of course don't have the bristleback. The clock is still in the pool, and the clock would give them a pretty decent amount of harassment and initiation. They're of course relying quite a lot on that Magnus, so perhaps just something to make his life slightly easier. If the clock can get involved, he can at least lock down one of the Sector 17 heroes. Have to see what they're going to go with here, but DUC, I think I'm going to call it that they might have clock here. They really just seem to need it. They need... Actually, no. Looking at this now, yeah, Drow Ranger is going to be picked up. So they are actually, in fact, going to be running the Weaver as that offlaner. I don't think that the Drow will be the offlaner, or perhaps they might be running her as a solo safe. That makes a little bit more sense. If they run the Weaver, the Abaddon, and the Ancient Apparition in the hard lane, That would be quite I mean, that would be a very, very decent and incredibly offensive lane, but I would then stick the Drow Ranger in that solo safe lane so that she can farm up. And sector 17 is actually going to go with the Death Prophet, so they hopefully she gets a fight. So sector 17 has a very, very strong team fight. Pretty decent team fight lineup of their own in the Magnus and Ancient Apparition, and then they've got two very, very powerful right clickers in there and the Drow Ranger. So if this goes late, sector 17 will almost certainly not win, but sector 17, it does seem to have far more of a push strat going of that Prophet. So let me just introduce the teams to you quickly, guys. We'll then get underway. So for sector 17 we have on the Timbersaw. Semaj will be picking up that Sand King. Slinky will be running solo mid Death Prophet. Stevas will be picking up that Bane, and Baby will be running that positioned 1 Slardar. For DUC we have Flace on the Weaver. Titan will be picking up the Abaddon. Rising Evil. Yes, so Rising the Evil will be picking up the Ancient Apparition. And Legend will be grabbing up that Drow Ranger with DJRS on the Magnus running in the mid. So confused just going on here. Looks like we're going to have the aggressive trialing, which I have said. I think it's just going to depend who leaves this lane behind us. A certain Legend will be taking that solo safe lane. Both teams actually just running into their opposition jungle to see what they can do. S17 has smoked up, but they're not going to find anyone, unfortunately, and the smoke will just wear out. So I wonder if they're going to wait here. We have a bit of drawings coming out in the map, so maybe they'll just wait here and see if they can catch out the Magnus. But that's what I'm seeing. I think they might actually be running a Magnus in the solo safe lane. That is certainly not what I expected, and I don't think Zephyr would have expected it either. Drow Range will be running the mid lane, and we do in fact have that aggressive try coming out, like I said. This is going to be a difficult lane for the Drow to win against the Prophet. She is of course not the most effective in the early game, and she doesn't really have much harassment potential other than her right clicks. And S17 has actually also gone with that aggressive tri lane, so the Magnus is going to have his work cut out. And yeah, it seems as though Zephyr's actually, not Zephyr, sorry, DUC's actually seen this, and they've now swapped their tri lane around. So it's going to be a tri lane versus tri lane in their top lane. And the Magnus will be taking that solo off-lane position against the Timbersaw, but either way he's going to have a really rough time. A melee strength hero against the Timbersaw is going to have an absolute nightmare if Pies playing that hero at all well. DJRS really got his work cut out for him, and let's see how well he can make it. Let's just start looking at the middle lane though quickly, guys. Currently it seems as though Slinky is in the lead, 2 kills with 3 denies, and Legend's currently 1 kill with 3 denies. So he's going to have to play pretty well to win this lane. He's going to really have to avoid the ganks. He does not have much escape. So Legend just currently got the creeps on his side of the hill, and he's actually going to try going in and start harassing with those frost arrows, and Slinky will just turn around and throw a crypt swarm at him. Just showing who's boss in this middle lane here. So Legend is really going to have to be careful to try and avoid those crypt swarms, and there again he actually gets hit with another one. So like I said, he does not have much potential for harassment, and he's going to have to be extraordinarily careful to die here. And just looking at this top lane quickly, it seems as though DUC is getting aggressive early on, fighting almost under the tower here, and they're really going to need to get a pull going. Wonder what's going on here. Rising Evil's pulling the other lanes. Sand King is just going to drop his ward, and I don't know if he actually realizes there's a Gentry ward. They're actually going to dive here. Flace is going in, and he's not unfortunately going to get the kill, and they're going to just turn around on Baby and just do a ridiculous amount of damage to him. And unfortunately Bane just gets the timing horribly wrong on that Nightmare, trying to save his teammate there from the damage, but unfortunately just keeping him in place to take it anyway. Right now Zephyr is just having a tough lane on this top lane here, and I really don't think this decision to go with an aggressive try is working. DUC's got far more effective lineup of harassing, and they do a lot more damage right now than Zephyr does, so Zephyr's going to have to be extraordinarily careful about not making any sort of mistake here. If they get caught out, they don't really have much that they can do. On the other hand though, if they do get an initiation, particularly on Ancient Apparition or even Flace himself, it's good to go on that. I mean, both of these heroes are extremely soft, only 492 hit points and 568. They'll be right for the picking if they do get caught out. Excuse me, guys. Alright, let's take a look at the bottom lane. So DGRS is actually right under the tower. He's currently sitting with 8 creep kills, 3 denies. And he's in fact out farming Pi here, so doing very, very well. He does, of course, seem to have taken a lot of harassment, which is what I expected. Timbersaw not really the best lineup for him. Ooh, and there he gets another whirling death to the face and just absolutely murders him in terms of that HP. So he's really going to be suffering here, and he's going to have to play very, very carefully. He does, of course, have the creeps right under the tower, so he's soaking up this XP and farmed very, very well. He's actually got his bottle coming out to him as well, so that'll be an interesting thing and on the top lane, we've actually got a D ward going down, so that will be a little bit of a pain for DUC. And they're actually going to catch out the attempted pull as well, so s17 is not going to try and
whatever it was you were doing.
just leech a bit of this XP, and I don't know why they haven't actually attempted it. There we go, Semaj is now just going to hang around and pick up what little he can here. But I really think if they'd gotten a bit more aggressive there, it might have helped. And it seems as though Legend, grabbing up that haste in the middle, was attempting to go on Slinky, and fake out TP from the Bane has forced him to back off. So in terms of last hits right now, DUC leads the board with the top 3 all belonging to them. That'll be the Weaver, the Magnus and the Drow. So Legend certainly making this higher base damage of his count against Slinky here. And not much in it, although Legend does have a greater amount of denies and pick up a couple of extra last hits now. He's actually hit level 6 as well, so both of these mids doing relatively well. I do think whoever leaves the mid first is probably going to either take a massive amount of damage to the tower or lose the tower entirely. And Pi's actually just odd, almost is forced to retreat a bit there. So he's going to be coming back, but he is now actually behind in farming. Magnus is now a full level ahead of him. Actually half a level ahead of him, so Pi will grab it in these next few kills, and he'll actually just run in there and just do a bit of harassment on JRS.
No, you don't.
But looking at the top lane again, we've currently got this stalemate on the top lane here. It's quite odd for an aggressive tri lane versus, well, you know, a defensive tri lane which is or has so much aggressive potential to have actually gotten no kills or even attempts on kills in almost 6 minutes. It's just sort of devolved into a bit of a passive farm game. We've actually got the supports of s17 rotating out. Bane and the Sand King are moving, but they will of course be spotted up, or no, in fact there are no wards on the side of the map for DUC, so they're completely blind once it comes to this. Marge and the Bane will just rotate back in. Let's see how this goes, but yeah, Zephyr's got complete vision of this jungle section over here. The top lane pretty much belongs to them in terms of warding. Just a bit odd that they've wasted so many. Got currently 4 wards used just for this top lane. It's a bit of overkill. They probably should have waited a little bit before dropping that Denture ward just to make certain that they could actually get these kills. And Titan and Rising Evil are just going to try and get home in here and just steal what they can. And they're going to certainly make an attempt here. The Chilling Touch goes down, but Flace will not attempt to dive that. You can use it to farm. So currently Flace doing very well here. He's currently 36 last hits and 10 versus against the 17 of the Slardar. Flace is certainly making this easy lane count for him. And we've actually got a rotation coming in here from Pi. He will be coming up to try and help out, which means that Magnus is then free to run that bottom lane as much as he chooses, and he's almost actually got his mana boots up. And here we go, we've got the first movement in. Flace will get caught out, and a stun from the Slardar along with Pi's damage will make certain that they are finished off. Sleep comes in on the Ancient Apparition, another slot I'll stun, and that'll be a double kill going the way of Pi. So a brilliant rotation there, and DUC certainly not expecting that and getting caught out pretty badly there. So first blood and the double kill goes to Zephyr, and Pi has certainly made that lack of farm in the bottom lane make no amount of difference at all, and they're actually going to catch up place again. Unfortunately their wards have now died, so they can't do anything
is under siege.
thus
Radiant
far.
structures have been fortified.
Just like that, DUC is now completely on the defensive in this top lane.
Radiant's bottom tower is being
Blaze is
attacked.
going to be sitting, he's actually sitting on 1,600 gold, so I think he might actually be trying to go straight for either a Perseverance or perhaps for a Midas. He's certainly getting a large amount of farm and is relatively uncontested in terms of farm. So Midas might actually help him a little bit here. Certainly making him attack faster, which will help him out quite a bit. Let's see how that goes. So currently level 4. Sorry,
Radiant's
Samaj will
bottom
just
tower is
pop up
being
his
attacked.
smoke and just get a couple of last hits while the rest of his team rotated out. In the middle lane, meanwhile, Death Prophet has chased Legend completely out of the lane. It's quite odd that he hasn't actually popped that ultimate yet and gone for the tower. I think he might actually do that now. He's just going to try and right click it down.
Radiant's bottom
But
tower
he
is
probably
under
should have used
siege.
that ultimate,
Dire's
taken
middle
out the tower
tower is
quickly and
being
left
attacked.
Legend unable to do anything. Pi meanwhile is rotated back into the bottom lane, and he will be seeing what he can do against Magnus here. Magnus has of course brought down the tower to just about half health.
Dire's middle
And,
tower is under siege.
Been pretty uncontested. I actually just expected Pi to be doing better here, and that'll actually be the there at Death Prophet taking that middle tower. I really expected Pi to probably do a little bit better against the Magnus. Of course, Magnus does have that.
Wait for
Actually, there we go, just blown apart.
Radiant's
Just
bottom
to
tower is under
shove my
siege.
words back in my mouth. Thank you very much, Pi. And just blowing apart that Magnus with consummate ease there. On the top lane, meanwhile, we have more wards actually coming out for Samaj, and Baby's actually picked up that Blink Dagger, so I think times are good to go if they're going to make any attempt now, and I don't know if DUC is actually aware of this. If Baby can get that Blink Dagger going and they can catch them out, it'll probably be easily another double kill coming. We've actually got the Magnus coming in, but he does not have his Blink Dagger. He does of course have Mana Boots and Charge, so I just wonder if this is going to be the most effective gank. We've got a
Radiant's
full
middle tower
5-man
is under
lineup here from
siege.
S17, so unfortunately Stevo's getting a little bit over aggressive. He might actually be caught out here. He gets a sleep on Ancient Apparition, but they turn that around pretty quickly. The Bane will die, but Magnus comes in, he gets an RP on 2, Baby and Thundersaw, and the stun will get him blown away before he can do anything. Pi is now in deep trouble as well. He will actually grab up a kill before he goes down. Ancient Apparition will pick him off in the end, and Sand King will die to the Ancient Apparition as well after stunning the Magnus up. So that was quite a large amount of damage there. I really didn't expect Zephyr to go down that quickly, but unfortunately that's 4 of their heroes down. I believe it was only 2 of
Radiant's
DUC's.
top tower is being attacked.
Quite a lot of movement, and that's certainly changed this lane equilibrium, and they will actually get a sleep out on Weaver, and all they're going to go on him, they do get the sleep off, and Slinky will now pop the ult and see what he can do, but unfortunately the Weaver will just back off there, but they will in fact pick up that Ancient Apparition. Double stun coming in from Samaj, and he'll actually get charged out with the Magnus.
Dire's
Meanwhile,
bottom
the
tower
Weaver's
is
actually
under
picked up the Death Prophet in backplay.
Probably already here.
Finn is now in deep trouble. He's actually going to die off. Legend has
Dire's
picked off
bottom
the
tower
Sand
is
King as
being
well,
attacked.
so
and then you can die.
DUC is certainly getting the better of these exchanges. Once again, it's now 3-for-1 trade this time, going the way of
Dire's bottom
DUC.
tower is
And
under siege.
I certainly didn't expect that, not with the amount of initiation and teamfight power that Zephyr did have. But their 2 main carries, this Weaver and the Drow Ranger, are quite cleverly
Radiant's
avoiding these
top
ganks and
tower
just
is under
making it
siege.
very, very difficult for DUC to effectively initiate on them. And Blaze, I think, is going to die there. Blinked in and stunned up, but he will in fact be able to save himself. The Abaddon doing quite a bit of work, and in comes an AA ult, and that'll hit on 3, and I think Baby's going to die here. There we go. Baby will be picked off there. So these supports from DUC is certainly doing a lot of work for their carries, and we get a Silence going out on Pi, and all of a sudden all hell's broken loose on this top lane. Massive amounts of kills and team fights in those last 2-3 minutes here. And I think, yeah, that'll just be the end of it. DUC is going to rotate back to their lanes and just leave it at that. Weaver's actually picked up the ultimate orb and the ring of health, so he's going to be building into that very, very quick. Or sorry, not very, very quick. He's just certainly going to be building into that Lincoln Sphere to make certain that he can't get caught out here, particularly by that Bane and the Sand King. S17 just trying to make some movement here and unfortunately not catching out Legend, grabbing up that rune and avoiding the potential gank. Slinky's also going to move back to his lane and see how much farm he can get. Seems to be, I think he's actually completed it now. That'll be his, what do you call it, his Scepter of Divinity, the Yules. Will give him a lot more movement speed, and DUC is actually diving this top tower. I think they're actually just going to turn around now and make certain that they grab off the last hits, and Abaddon's ulti will get popped by Pi, and he's going to do a little bit of damage just to heal himself up further, and Pi is now not able to do much. He's going to toss out another ulti just to get them to back off, but they have forced all of the cores apart from that Slardar into this top lane. DUC certainly getting the better out of this middle section of, or sorry, the ending section of the laning stage here. Flace is just actually going to take out the south. We've got another AA ult that will actually hit on Slinky and on the Bane, so Flace would have permission to go there, but he's just not going to do anything at this moment. Magnus has actually picked off Slardar, while Pi will try and chase him down. He'll just throw out a bit of a shockwave and just force Pi to back off.
Under attack.
That was
that's
really
something that's
a big pity that they rotated 3 heroes down to the bottom lane and were still unable to pick up that Magnus, and Magnus actually got his Blink Dagger from that as well. So he's doing very, very well. Yeah, currently 1 kill, 1 death and 7 assists. So he has made a big difference since he rotated to that top lane there. And DUC seems to have rotated their entire tribe into this bottom. And I think we might actually have a push on this bottom tower in the near future. Legend is actually just farming up the Ancients as well, so that's going to increase his farm quite a large amount. He's actually also completed that Helm of the Dominator. Those Ancients are also stacked, so he's going to be having quite a bit of farm for that. I think Evil will come in just to drop off a ward, and we go back to this slightly passive farm game again. Magnus is doing quite a number here on this bottom lane. He's got his Mana Boots and Arcane. Sorry, he's got his Blink Dagger and Mana Boots in
Radiant's bottom tower is being
less than
attacked.
15 minutes. And not bad for a hero that I didn't expect to do as well as he did in the bottom lane. Titan actually might be caught out here. No, he's just going to turn around and make certain he can get. Does in fact get caught out. Slinky has now also rotated to this bottom lane, as has Stevas. Stevas unfortunately not level 6 yet, but once he does get that up, it will be a lot of lockdown probably going on that Weaver as well. And do I see what I see? It seems like we got a cheeky little Roshan coming out here from DUC, and this is actually a very, very good play. Legend will be going to grab up the Roshan, I think, or will it be Flace? Probably Flace, who has in fact completed his Lincoln Sphere as well, so he's farming
Roshan has fallen to the
at an
down.
extreme pace. And no, the Roshan will in fact go to Legend. But just looking at these losses and amazing amounts of farm from DUC. Currently still top of the leaderboard, 83 last hits for that Weaver, 79 for that Drow, and 70 for that Drow Ranger. Sorry, 70 for the Magnus. They are making every little bit of space count here. The highest in terms of S17 farm is only the Death Prophet at 53, just to give Asian a power. Massive differences,
Radiant's
and I
bottom
don't
tower
think
is
that
being
Zephyr can
attacked.
actually combat this. We've got
If
an
that's
AAL
something
flying
you
out
can-
to hit on just Pi, but Legend's going to make an attempt here, and he's actually going to grab it out. Magnus blinks in
Radiant's
and gets off the
bottom
stun,
tower is
and
under
I wonder if
siege.
that's going to be enough to kill the Thermosol. Will it? I think it might, yes. With the last tick of damage, he will in fact die off. And
Radiant's
this
bottom
Ancient
tower is
Apparition
being
ulti
attacked.
is causing a massive amount of problems for Zephyr.
Radiant's bottom
They're
tower
really
has
just
fallen.
unable to combat it in any way, and despite having a pretty decent team fight, they keep getting caught out here by DUC. I don't think DUC is actually going to try and attempt this, like push it, or are they? I wonder. They in fact are going to make this attempt, and they're going to take this tower down very, very quickly with the help of these, the help of the chilling touch. And Magnus actually going to blink in and charge back, but unfortunately land on nothing. And Zephyr is not even going to combat this, so I really don't know what. They really should have attempted something. Magnus, sorry, Dota thinks he gets a double stun. In comes the pie, and along with that,
The king is alive.
Sand King ulti, and that's just going to absolutely wreck nothing. In fact, sorry guys, that'll also be the death of Pi, so crazy counter gank coming from DUC, and that'll be a triple kill going the way of the Weaver. And I think poor old Samaj might in fact be caught out here. Weaver's going to hunt him down. He will just be able to just escape with 40 HP. And a really just very, very ineffective buyback there from the Sand King, and that is another 4-for-1 trade going the way of DUC. So DUC is completely dominating here at the moment. That in fact just shows up on this gold graph. They are currently more than 13,000 ahead. Baby will blink in and get a double stun. Bane will grab an ulti on that Raw Ranger, but unfortunately just... oh no, sorry. Bane will in fact pick her off with the help of that brain sap. That's more of what they need. They're going to need pickoffs like that to have any sort of impact on this game, because right now DUC is running away with it. Looking at the difference in the gold graph again, DUC is just short of 14,000 ahead, so wow. Zephyr is really having a very, very hard game of it here. And in terms of XP, it's also just below, or just more than 12,000, just moving back there after that kill. But Zephyr is getting completely out-rotated here. DUC is just making absolute use of these, of the space that they've been given. And unfortunately that's, I think, because DUC just did not get aggressive enough with them. Zephyr obviously cannot take the late game, so they really needed to go a little bit earlier and get a lot more aggressive on the Zephyr, on the DUC team. They're of course not very, very powerful in the early game. That Ancient Apparition, as I said, as well as the Weaver, are very, very soft, and they have both the Slardar and that Sand King to make certain that they can take them out, but just conceding the lane somewhat to the Weaver in terms of last hits, and that's come back to bite them now. I really do think they just probably needed a little bit of a better rotation, or more rotations. We saw how effective, of course, Pi was with that first one, but unfortunately, once he rotated back to the bottom, they were really unable to do anything. And I think it was the series of team fights here in this top lane that has actually set them back the most. When they did attempt to get their fights going, it just sort of snowballed out of their control, and that was extremely lucky that the smoke didn't turn off there. And they've actually rotating around, and Bane's been caught out by the Abaddon, but Abaddon's going to walk into a gank here. And he's actually going to brilliant blinking from Magnus will grab 2 along with the AA ult on 3 of them. So we got a Bane ulti on the Magnus, but that massive amount of damage coming out of the Abaddon shields will in fact lead to another 3-for-1 trade there. Just the Magnus dying off, but costing 2 of the cores from Zephyr and the Sand King. So right now, Zephyr's just not being able to do anything right now. Even when they do get a pretty decent form of initiation, they're just unable to do anything after that. And this will be another tier 2 tower going down, this time on the top lane.
I hope that's part of their plan.
Very, very fortunately, I think, for Titan was the fact that the Abaddon was the one caught out there, not any of the others. The Abaddon, of course, able to just tank himself through that. He's in fact building up a Medallion of Courage and a Ring of Health. And Ancient Apparition will in fact grab the Bane as well with the help of his ult. So I think right now the supports are what's winning it for DUC here. Both the Ancient Apparition and the Abaddon are just playing out of their minds, keeping their team alive here, and just allowing the carries to farm with pretty much ridiculous ease. I must of course say though that the Magnus has got some incredibly important ults, almost always a double ult to grab up 2 of the heroes, and that has made a massive difference in these fights. he almost, well, not almost always, but every time he has grabbed a hero, he's grabbed either the Slardar or the Sand King, and that is just causing a massive headache for Zephyr. Unable to get their stuns off, and that is actually costing them pretty heavily in these team fights now. Seems as though DUC is going to now move down the middle lane and see what they can do there. I really don't see how Zephyr is going to come back from this though. They need to get a couple of excellent ultis off. They do of course have the option of well, not the option, sorry, they do of course have the possibility of doing so. If they can catch DUC out, they'll certainly win a team fight against them. But it's going to have to be very, very careful. And Reaver has in fact picked up his detonator, and what on earth? He just blew that Bane apart as though he was nothing. And that is going to hurt Zephyr here, and I think this is a tier 2 that Zephyr can do nothing about. And once again, that is the last of the outer towers going down for Zephyr, and we're going to be moving on to these tier 3s in the near future. DUC is not going to stop at that. And that Weaver is hitting like an absolute truck at the moment. He's currently got 117, does 280 damage, and a massive amount of it is pure, and he still reduces your armor. So this is getting ugly for Zephyr right now. Flace will actually just rotate now and take out these Ancients as well. He's got 3,400 up, so I wonder what he's going to be building into. Perhaps a MKB, that will certainly help him. He's actually going to grab a double damage, so I think things are going to get really ugly now for DUC if he does catch them. I mean, for Zephyr if he does catch them out. He's going to rotate top, and they're going to see what they can do there. The s17 is actually smoked up and seeing if they can catch anyone out in this jungle. But they're actually going to try and rotate around, and they will be able to catch Drow. She does not have any form of escape, and she's actually going to get picked off there. Stun up from Baby and the ulti, and there she's going to be going down. She does pop off the Manta, and not going to help her out. Pi is taking an absolute boatload of damage from Flace, and Flace will actually get him off as well. Flace is going to turn around and pick off the Bane as well. Another 2-man RP from Magnus, and that will be a full team wipe, and an ultra kill going the way of Flace. And I think that is probably the GG. There's nothing really that Zephyr can do anymore, and they're just getting completely outplayed here by these DUC heroes. Just a massive amount of damage coming out of Flace there, and there's really nothing they can do to combat him at the moment. This will be a tier 3 here, only the Bane alive, tier 3 and a Rat, I think. And as much as I hate to say it, I don't really see Zephyr coming back from this kind of lead this early on. It's now more than 20,000, almost 25,000 gold lead, and more than a 20,000 experience lead as well, and that's only 26 minutes. And we've got another blink in here from Baby, and he's actually, unfortunately, Steerbus is just going to get away there, and a waste of a Sand King ult as well. I don't know. s17 just not having the best of games here, and that's really a pity. Like I said, I just don't think they got aggressive enough early on, and if they had gotten a bit more aggressive, then DUC would have been in a lot more trouble here. But unfortunately, DUC is just now so far behind the 8 ball that they really can't do anything. I mean, the Sand King literally only has Blink Dagger and a TP Scroll, so I don't know what he's going to be trying to do. Blinky is still trying to build towards that mech, and that'll be a Roshan going the way of Legend once again. And that just gives you sort of an indication. I mean, if you look at just the Ancient Apparition has both the Mechanism and the Arcane Boots, and he's now building into an ulti stick. He's about halfway there.
Dire's top tower is
the
under
Sand
siege.
King has pretty much just a Blink Dagger, and that's it. And Flace is actually going to rotate in here, and he's going to try and chase down, but he's somehow going to run through an entire army of ghosts and not take any damage. Meanwhile, on the bottom lane, Timbersaw actually dives off to the Drow Ranger. And We got a buyback from the Timbersaw as well, so I think this is going to be the last defense. If they don't win this team fight now, then there's nothing they can really do. Got the Ancient Apparition charging up everyone. Place will be pushing that top lane on his Weaver, and we got a sleep coming out on the Abaddon now. This is not really the hero they want to go, and a brilliant RP coming out of the Magnus, grabbing up 3 of them. The Magnus is now taking a massive amount of damage. Unfortunately, the Ancient Apparition ult is hit on no one, so it's only the 2 kills at the moment. The Timbersaw and the Bane will be going down, but and we've actually got the call there from Steve as captain, and unfortunately they lost 2 heroes with no return without the Weaver even being there. So very, very well played here. DUC, some good early team fights, actually giving them the amount of momentum that they needed to then just push on and take out Zephyr here. But join me in the next game, guys. I'll see if I can grab myself a co-commentator, and we'll see what we can do. But certainly going to be a very, very interesting next game, and follow me there. Thanks very much, guys. Cheers. Bye-bye.